Okay, good morning and afternoon to all. On behalf of the glamorous women of Gamma Pi Rho Lupus Sorority Incorporated, we welcome you all to our April's Advocacy and Awareness Zoom event. We thank you personally in advance for logging on and spending time with us on this Saturday. We hope everyone is feeling well and doing the best that they possibly can today. And now, it brings me great pleasure to present to you an amazing lupus warrior. Since 15, this lupus warrior and advocate has battled lupus. Highly motivated, enthusiastic about telling the world about this horrific disease. But she is also very transparent about the highs and lows that makes it so admirable. She is the founder and CEO of LupiesUnite, a nonprofit organization that educates, motivates, and helps lupus patients and their loved ones understand it all. She also teams up with other organizations by fundraising, doing social media ads, and engaging in events in the community. And even after all of that, she still finds time to be a daily inspirational face of lupus. So, without further ado, Gamma Pi Rho Lupus Sorority Incorporated presents to you Miss Janay Towns. Lupus is real. A round of applause. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for
Finally,
having me.
have you here. Finally, the glamorous gammas have Janay. Yes. Welcome. So, Janay, there's many people out there that know you and your story, but there are
Yes.
others that don't. Do you mind telling us a little bit about it? You can start from the beginning, the middle, the end, but you have such a remarkable story. We would love to know how you continue to manage all these years and some of the things that you've been through.
Yes. So, hello everyone. Again, thank you for having me. Um, as Miss Chandra said, my name is Janay Towns. I'm the founder of LupiesUnite Incorporated, a nonprofit that I started back in 2019, mainly because of the lack of lupus awareness. As you guys know, there really isn't any mainstream awareness out there for lupus, unfortunately. And you would think there will be, being as though there's so many people suffering with lupus. There's people that die from lupus. But, that is why I started LupiesUnite. So on to how I was diagnosed with lupus. I was diagnosed with lupus 19 years ago. I was only 15. I was a sophomore in high school. Had no clue what lupus was. I was a dancer. That's all I knew from the age of 4. I just knew that I was going to be a dance choreographer. I was going to be on tour with Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, like no backup plan whatsoever. Um, but for me, my diagnosis went pretty fast. Normally, it takes months and years for a person to get a diagnosis. But for me, because of how things transpired, it took four about 4 to 5 months. And the first initial symptom was I had feet pain. Um, and it started like the beginning of my sophomore year. Um, like I mentioned, I was a dancer, so I was dancing 5 days a week. I was also working on the weekends and also taking gym class. So I was doing a lot of standing and walking and a lot of like highly impact. Um, I consider dance a sport. Um, so within those like 5 months of trying to get the diagnosis, the only symptom honestly I had was feet pain. To the point of I can't even describe it to you, but if anyone has ever had really bad feet pain to the point of not be able to walk, that is how I explained it. It was to the point where I couldn't put on no sneakers, no shoes, um, couldn't really like lift my feet up to walk. It was more so like a glide. Um, so that honestly was the only initial symptom at first. So the beginning of 2004, one weekend I was working and we did not have school that Monday. So instead of me trying to go home and rest because I was in a lot of pain, I did not do that. My mom told my sisters and sisters and I that we could go to a teen club. So of course, you're not going to leave me behind. I went, danced maybe one time that night, and by the end of the night, I could not move. It was, I can't even describe like the pain, but it was bad to the point of having to have a security guard carry me out to my mom's vehicle. From that incident up until I would say 3 weeks after that, my health just started getting worse. It went from the the feet pain to just being really, really weak, couldn't really eat. I lost a lot of weight. Um, it was bad. I was out of school for about 3 weeks. And I hate missing school. I was a total nerd. So missing school was like horrible for me. Um, but what happened was because I missed so much, one of my teachers reached out and wanted to come and help me get caught up on schoolwork. So she came, and when she came into my house, she saw how bad I looked and basically said, "Yeah, we're not doing this today. You have to go to the emergency room." So my parents packed me on up, took me over to a children's hospital in Delaware. Um, and all I could remember honestly was the doctor saying she is really, really, really sick. Um, and that they automatically admitted me. So I would say about 2 days after being in the hospital is when they came and told me that I had lupus. I had no clue what lupus was. I told the doctor, okay, so what antibiotic can you give me to get rid of this? Because, I'm ready to get back to school, ready to get back to dancing. Um, but unfortunately, they told me that it's a chronic illness and that I will have it for the rest of my life. Um, but that there is treatment for it. Um, Turns out that not only was I diagnosed with lupus, but I was diagnosed with stage 4 lupus nephritis. My kidneys basically was in kidney failure. Um, and even after finding that out, it did not click. Um, I spent a week in the hospital. After being discharged, I was good for about a couple of months. I went back to dancing, went back to school. It still didn't register that I had lupus. I think the first time that I noticed, okay, this is real, was when I started noticing gaining weight from the steroids they put me on, the prednisone. Um, and I had the big cheeks. The weight was just coming. Um, and from that, I was like, okay, yeah, we're not doing this. Like, this just like I had just turned 16. I was getting ready to have my sweet 16 birthday party, and I was trying to look good. I did not want the chickmunk cheeks. So, me being young and not really thinking, I stopped taking all of my medication. I did not think twice about it. I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm not doing this. Um, it took about a good month after me stop taking my medication for me to wind up back in the hospital. Um, and the doctors basically telling me, like, Miss Towns, you cannot not take your medicine. You have to take it. And that is when it started registering. Um, and when you're diagnosed with any type of autoimmune illness or any type of health disease or illness, the doctors really don't give you the in-depth information that I believe they should give you. It's honestly, they say they'll tell you have lupus, and that's that. Um, you pretty much have to find out along your journey the different things that comes with having lupus. And what I mean by that, one of the things that the doctors don't tell lupus patients is when you're diagnosed with lupus, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be diagnosed with the underlying illnesses, such as rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, um, Sjogren's syndrome, avascular necrosis, depression, anxiety, high blood pressure. They don't tell you none of that. You pretty much have to find out all of that as you go on in your lupus journey. Um, and the first year of the first year of being diagnosed, it was, I won't say it was overwhelming, but it was a bit, I guess, a little disappointing. Um, Mainly because that first year I was still trying to be a teenager. I was only 16. So I went from, being this happy-go-lucky 15-year-old who I had a plan. Like I said, I was going to be a choreographer. Everything was set to, being diagnosed with lupus. Then as time went on, it seemed like every year it was something different, a different illness. So I'm just like, okay, what really did God give me? Like, this is too much for me to handle. I'm only 16. And after doing the research, I, found out that normally when women and men get diagnosed with lupus, it's normally like in their late 20s, 30s, and 40s. Again, I was 15. So after doing that research, I honestly started questioning God because I'm like, okay, well, I just felt like my life was over. My life was over before it even began. And that is when the depression and the anxiety kicked in. And when you're diagnosed with lupus, you go through a grieving process. one of the steps of grieving is acceptance. And a lot of times people think you're supposed to accept what happens to you right away. That is not the case. It honestly took 10 to 12 years for me to accept the fact that I have lupus. Um, I was ashamed of telling my story. I was not vocal about it. I was embarrassed to even tell people that I had lupus. I did not want to feel like a charity case. I did not want, friends and family members to always say, "Oh, Janay, oh, I understand." I just did not want to feel like a burden. So it was a lot. And though those 10 years, now realizing I was depressed. And anyone that goes through any type of illness, I believe they're going to have some amount of depression. The doctors may say, "Oh, well, no, you won't have it," but you will have some type of depression. You're going to start feeling sorry for yourself. You're going to start doubting yourself. You're going to start questioning yourself. Even to the point where having suicidal thoughts. Now knowing me stopping my medication, that was me saying, "Okay, what? I give up. I give up. I'm gonna stop taking my medicine. Whatever happens, happens." Um, and it was it was hard. It was hard. Um, but I would say the one thing that saved me and let me know what my purpose was social media. And I know some people may say, "What? What do you mean by that?" What I mean by that is um, social media played a huge part in me accepting the fact that I have lupus. Um, and particularly Instagram. I remember one night I was up because I could not sleep, and something said, "Janay, type in lupus, hashtag lupus." So I did that. And it was just like bells started going off. Like, okay, that moment, I knew, okay, this is what I am supposed to do. That night is when I accepted my diagnosis. And that is when I started to share my lupus journey. And at first, my family members, my friends did not understand why I was being so open and being so transparent on social media. I can't tell you how many times my mom and sisters cussed me out because, I was crying doing a live video or just, going live talking about uh, anything lupus related or anything like that. They literally was like, "Janay, you cannot be doing this." And I said, "Listen, you may not understand it, but trust me, it is going to help someone." And it did just that.
Yes,
It
it
did
did.
just that. I'm gonna just stop right here and ask, does anyone have any questions?
I have a question for you. Well, not so much a question for the first one. I'm glad that you spoke about the grieving process because it actually is a grieving process when you're diagnosed. People think like, oh, you got your diagnosis and here you are, oh, lupus this and lupus that. But no, it actually takes time to, you know, as you say, grieve because you realize that this person who I was, who had all these hopes and dreams, may not have that same version. You're going to still be great, but it's not going to be the version that you thought. So, in a sense, you have to grieve, this whole process. And I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't understand that. Yes, we have to grieve our diagnosis.
Yeah. And I believe that's something that when you're diagnosed, the doctor should tell you,
Mm-hmm.
but again, they don't. And honestly, lupus is one of those illnesses I believe that doctors still don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
There really isn't a lot of treatments. There are specific treatments, for lupus, but if you look at, let's just say, diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of medication for anyone that has diabetes, from insulin to I can't even think, but I'm sure that
Mm-hmm.
there's, loads of
They definitely
medication
get
for that.
more attention than we do. To me, it seems
Right.
that way. Yes.
Um, and for me, my lupus journey has been a roller coaster, mainly because I have a severe case of lupus nephritis. I've been on every lupus medication, multiple rounds of chemo, still on a high dose of steroids, blood pressure medication, pain medication, which I absolutely hate taking, but I have to take it because I'm in pain. Um it is when I hear myself say, "Wow, Janay, you've been on every medication, like that's crazy." And when I tell people that, they look at me like I'm crazy, but it is it's not crazy because there isn't much treatment out there. Um, but for me, it is frustrating. It is very frustrating because I just feel like, damn, they have yet to find the right cocktail of medications that will help me. Um, so that is where the frustration comes in. It is, it takes a lot for me to get up every day, um, put on what I like to call my mask, and, just run a nonprofit organization and just still try to live my best life. Um, I still get depressed. There's times where I'm like, man, like, why do I have to go through this? Last night, I went out. There was an event that I went to, and I had to pull my cane out. And I felt so embarrassed because I was around a lot of older people, like 50s, 60s, 70s. And I mean, they look good, dancing, dropping it low, the whole nine. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, little old me is sitting here with a cane. And I know these people are looking at me like, what is this girl doing with this cane? But in that moment, even after 19 years of dealing with this, in that moment, I still felt embarrassed. I still felt like, man, like what is going on? But at the same time, I had to do what I had to do. Taking out the cane, the walker, at times the wheelchair. Um, that it takes a lot for me to do that. I'm super stubborn, prideful, um, and I will do something knowing that it is going to cause me consequences later. For instance, I was at an event in Atlanta this past Thursday. And just walking in the airport, I'm like, okay, I know I need a wheelchair because it's a lot of walking. But did I ask for one? No. Why? I don't need no wheelchair. Like, what I look like? I don't need it. So because I did not ask for a wheelchair, yeah, I'm definitely I'm paying for those consequences right now as we speak.
Mhm.
Um, but it's things like that where, you know, there's times where you have to say, am I going to do this? Do I want to do this? Or do I want to suffer the consequences? Or, you know what? I think I'm just going to stay in for tonight because I may, you know, not feel the greatest. Brianna? Brianna? Yes? I see you have your hand raised.
Something that you mentioned that was so funny is the airport situation. And I experienced something like that in Atlanta. You know, for anybody that has not been in Atlanta airport, it's really big. You got to take all these trains to get to like your terminal. And if you're not riding Delta, I feel bad for you. But I said the same thing to myself until one time I decided to actually do it. And I didn't know that people in wheelchairs get to skip the line. So from there, that was kind of like my motivation and my encouragement to use a wheelchair. And so of course, me and my family and my friends and all of us, you know, we laugh about it and we joke about it. And even like the disability sticker, you know, I'm 31 years old, right? 31, have lupus, no kidneys. It's like, wait, what? But I call it my little VIP card, right? So I think it's really cool sometimes when we just kind of encourage ourselves and tell ourselves, you know, encouraging things. And that was my question to you. You know, how are you able to kind of encourage yourself as well as encourage others who are dealing with that kind of illness, especially those who are suffering from other illnesses like lupus nephritis. You know, so for instance, you know, I had lupus nephritis. I tried everything in the book. I tried chemo. I tried all these different meds, pain meds, and I personally believe that is what took my kidneys very quickly. I got a kidney transplant. After that, my kidney failed, right? After a year and a half, another year, I got another kidney, and here I am trying to be convinced to get a third kidney, right? And so how do you just continue to encourage yourself as well as encourage others, you know, having an organization and things like that?
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. For me, it starts with my awesome support team, my family, my friends, and my lupus community. Um, the next thing is my faith. You have to have faith. And I know sometimes it's hard to have that faith because it's like, well, have faith. God, like, why would you give me all of this? It's too much to deal with. Um, but the one thing that I always keep in mind is God only gives us what we can handle. And I know sometimes we may not feel like we can handle it, but not knowing it, just going through the tough times, and making it out the tough times, that is when I realized, okay, all right, God, I see what you're doing. But encouraging, it starts with a support team. I know some people may not have that. I've been blessed to have that, but for those who don't have that, I strongly suggest getting connected with an organization, or finding someone to talk to about what you're going through, um, and talking to other people with lupus. I think talking to other people with lupus is extremely important, because it makes you feel like, okay, you're not alone. Like, okay, I know I'm not crazy. She went through that. Oh, okay, then okay, I'm good. Um, when I was first diagnosed, I did not have that. Yeah, my family was there for me to talk to, but they did not understand what I was going through and what I was experiencing. Um, and it was hard for them to see me go through everything that I was going through, and seeing me in so much pain. Um, I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry, you guys. The brain fog is so real today.
It happens. It happens to all of us, sis. It happens to all of us. Every
Does
single.
anyone have a question?
I have a question. Hi.
Hi,
Uh,
Beyond.
First, I want to thank you, ladies, for just being on this platform and sharing your stories and your experiences with lupus. Nay, I know you personally from just knowing your story, watching you on social media. And while I may not be diagnosed with lupus, I do look to your motivational videos to get me through some of my days. How it is actually humbling to see, you go through your stuff and you're still a warrior and you're still fighting through and motivating people and encouraging people. That takes a lot of strength. And so I just want to thank you wholeheartedly for that. One of the things that you came across, in this interview is that this notion of doctors not even knowing what lupus really is. And so for someone who may not fully know what lupus is about or know anyone who's dealing with it, what, in your opinion, do you feel people or even doctors, physicians are most misinformed when it comes to lupus? That if you had in 30 seconds to a minute to share with someone what lupus really is, what would that sound like?
So that's a great question. I believe that there is this stigma with lupus that it is not a real illness. A lot of times people will say that's not real. Like, she's making it up. It's all in her head. For example, anytime I have to go to the emergency room, I hate having to go to the emergency room, number one. Mainly because they treat people with lupus like we are crazy drug addicts. There's been times where I was admitted and they called, I guess, the drug counselors or something like that, because they thought that I was just there for pain medicine. Um, So that's the stigma that people have when it comes to lupus. They think that it's not real. They think that it's all made up in our heads. Doctors are not, I feel like they're not informed with everything lupus entails. And what lupus is basically our bodies fighting against ourselves. So just imagine your younger self and your present self. And you're just going at it. You're going at it. That is what lupus is. Your body is literally fighting itself. And I don't think that a lot of the I would say within the last 20 years, I don't think the doctors really understand it, because it's one of those illnesses that there's so many layers to it. There's so many layers to lupus. There's 4 different types of lupus. And because there's so many layers, it is extremely hard to diagnose. It mimics a lot of other illnesses. So a lot of times they will say, okay, you don't have lupus, you have rheumatoid arthritis. You don't have lupus, you have avascular necrosis, or you're anemic. But honestly, they don't have a clue. And I think that there should be some type of lupus one-on-one course in medical school, or not just lupus, but autoimmune. I believe that the doctors now should be retrained in autoimmune illnesses. There's more and more people being diagnosed with lupus and autoimmune illnesses, and doctors have no clue what to do. They have no clue what to do. A lot of times we go to the emergency room, they ask us what to do. They will ask, Miss Town, so what normally do they do when you come in? And I'm like, you're the doctor. Like, why am I telling you what to do?
Right.
You're the doctor, not me. Even though I like to tell people that I'm a doctor. Anyone that, has been dealing with any illness for over 2 years, you're a doctor. I strongly believe that.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sandra, Emmett, you guys are doctors. Everyone on this call right now that has lupus, you guys are doctors. And we're probably better doctors than the actual doctors, because they just don't understand it. Every once in a while you may get a doctor that is trying to truly understand what lupus is, and that will, advocate for you and make you feel like, okay, there's not like that, make you feel fine, to make you feel comfortable enough to say, listen, doc, this is what it is, what's going on. But there aren't a lot of doctors like that, unfortunately. And luckily, I've been blessed to have an amazing rheumatologist that I've been working with and seeing for 10 plus years. And we have a great relationship. Anytime I feel I need to go to emergency room, I will call her and say, listen, I'm getting ready to go. call them, let them know I'm coming, have the room waiting, because 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be admitted. And that's exactly what she does. But like I said, there aren't many doctors like that. And there should be. There should be a retraining course that should be happening, or some type of doctor support group for autoimmune illnesses.
It's so important to have a doctor that listens. That's why the main focus is, like, if you're a doctor, do not feel tied down to your doctor. If you feel like your doctor isn't listening to you or understanding you, you have to be your own advocate. And so many people stay with the doctor because they feel like, oh, well, this is who they gave me and this is who. No, if they're not listening, you have to be your own advocate, and they're gonna, it's a blessing to have one that actually listens and understands and do their own research, because so many people are getting diagnosed and they value you as a patient. So they really want to help you. So that's a blessing to have that. And everybody doesn't have that. So I see a question in the comment section.
Yeah, about the money. Okay. Yes. It is expensive. The treatments are expensive. Luckily, I have been I've been on disability for over 10 years now. So I get Medicare along with Medicaid. And so my insurance a lot of the time picks up the cost of my treatments and hospital stays and medications and stuff. But when I talk to other people with lupus that may not have insurance, yes, it is extremely expensive. Even going to the doctors and paying the copayment. I had one lady say that her copayment, I believe, was $150. And that, to me, that's crazy. Why am I paying a doctor to,
It's insane.
yeah, like it really is. There aren't, well, I'm not quite sure. But for LupiesUnite, one of the things that we do is we try to help other people with lupus as far as medical costs, medication costs, even down to single parents that have lupus who may need help with school supplies for their kids, or Christmas time's coming around, they can't get out. So we help with helping them getting, gifts for their kids and whatever else they need help with. Because there's times where, we can't get up. We can't get out the bed. We can't make it to the store. We can't make it downstairs. And it becomes frustrating
Very,
when that happens.
very. Brianna, you had your hand up. I see there's some more comments.
I'm sorry. Did you call my name by any chance?
You had your hand up. Was there something that you want to add?
Yeah, something you mentioned. I'm sorry, it's raining. It started raining. Florida, it rains and it's sunny the next minute. But so with the Medicare and Medicaid thing, I'm a dually as well. And something that I was told is that when it comes to Medicare, the reason why a lot of people end up with Medicare is if they are in renal failure. So if you're in renal failure, you automatically qualify for Medicare, especially if you've worked and paid into Social Security and all of that. A lot of times the reason that people do not qualify for Medicaid and they have co-payments is because they work. And that's what makes it hard with Lupies. You know, Lupies have a hard time getting to work. They have a hard time getting out of bed. However, in order to get services like Medicaid, you can't work. You can't, or disability, you know, you can't work. And when they see that you can work, a lot of times they're like, no, you can afford your co-payments. And a lot of times that is how Lupies end up stuck in those co-payments. And that's what makes it so difficult. And so, yeah, I just wanted to add to that because even here, I talk to a lot of Lupies who deal with that situation as well. However, a lot of times the Medicaid will, you know, people, representatives will encourage them or let them know like, hey, you know, you can't work, which makes it sad because a lot of people are parents, their mothers, fathers, you know, they're the only parent in the household. They're the provider. And it just sucks that, you know, they have to literally be poor pretty much to receive services, you know, to be able to pay for their health care.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you would think that it would be easy for people with lupus to get disability. Listen, it's one of those things that I'm still trying to figure out. Luckily, I was fortunate enough to have the mom that I have because my senior year of high school is when I found out I could not work anymore. My doctor said, listen, she can't work. She needs disability. And my mom jumped right on it. And we filled out the paperwork for both SSI and SSDI. And being as though I was already receiving Social Security benefits through my father, I was eligible to receive SSDI. And honestly, the difference between the SSI and the SSDI is people on SSI, they can't work at all. People who receive Social Security Disability, SSDI, you can work. I believe it's only a certain amount of money you can make.
Up to 1,300. Sorry.
Thank you for that because I did not know that. That's interesting. Oh, lost my train. Oh, yeah. So not being able to work is frustrating because how are you going to support yourself? And even though I've been receiving disability for over 10 plus years, it took 3 years for me to get approved. I was denied 3 times. After the first time, I had to get a lawyer. And even after getting a lawyer, I was still denied 2 times. And during that process of me trying to, receive SSDI, my lupus was at its worst. I was in and out the hospital every single week. In and out the hospital every single week. Still going to school, college, taking classes, and still trying to, at that time, live my best life in my 20s. But I don't, when it comes to the government and Social Security and stuff, honestly, I don't understand how they go. I know there's a specific criteria that they look at when it comes to autoimmune illnesses. And it's like certain numbers when it comes to blood work that they look at when it comes to saying, okay, this person may be eligible. Okay, let's approve her. And to me, that should not be because lupus affects everyone differently.
It does.
One thing that I've learned is what works for me may not work for you. And a lot of the times, I don't think that the people who ever approve the Social Security Department, I don't think they look at that. They
Yeah,
don't take that into consideration.
that's a whole nother conversation and topic. It's really sad the way it is decided and how they decide and who decides, like who gets to play God with that when we're in such of a need. So that's really frustrating. But I do have to say that whoever is trying to get it, please do not give up. Continue to keep going, trying to receive that, and don't let time lapse, because they will give you a back pay once they do approve you. And luckily, lupus is beginning to be more in the forefront than in what it was years ago. And there are being more people that is diagnosed, so more people are being aware. So that just shows us what we are doing is, even though it's going slow, we are getting there, and we need to continue to be advocates and bring awareness to this disease. Janay, it's been such a pleasure to have you today. And I want you to know that you did mention something. You said that the older people were dipping it and doing it, and you had your cane. Sister girl, let me tell you that you are dipping it and doing it yourself, because you made it to the engagement. You've been out twice representing for the cause. So whether you're on a cane or not, you're still dipping it and doing it. And we see you what you're doing. And like she said, even though people don't have lupus, your posts are very motivational. They're inspiring, and they give us, laughter at times. So keep being the force that you are. And I know you hear this, because we all tell everybody, keep doing what you're doing, but honestly, keep doing what you're doing. And it may not seem like, to your old self that you're doing a lot, because you're seeing what other people are doing it, but you are dipping it and doing it well. So keep on, and just keep, having that faith, and praises to your organization that you help so many people, because we all need that out there. And just keep being the strong force. And we thank you so much for being on our platform. You have a lot of comments just saying that, people see you and what you're doing. And we're going to continue to give you your praise and your flowers. And whether you're on a cane or you rolling in a wheelchair, you are being a lupus advocate and a strong warrior, and you are appreciated. So thank you for joining us today. And everyone, can you take a moment, look at the camera? Let's get a beautiful picture for our platform and our website. All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, Autumn. Thank you. I got a pleasure to meet you today, and I'm looking forward to still communicating with you, and we can continue to work together. I do want to say that Janay, you were out real quick before. I know we've been on long, but I do want you to speak about the event that you were at here in Georgia. Can you please tell us about that real quick? I was there, so I know everything that went on, but for those of people who was not there, please give us a little information, because it's amazing what the young man did for you.
Yes. So I am partnered with a nonprofit organization called View Health. And basically what they do is they help people with autoimmune illnesses get linked up with clinical trials. Clinical trials in the African American community, people tend to look the other way because of the history um, behind the clinical trials. So they basically, they will hook you up with or match you with different clinical trials that you may be eligible for. And I went back in November down to Florida for a screening for a clinical trial. But unfortunately, I was not a candidate. But that I still have hope. I'm still open to doing other clinical trials. But the event that I was a part of basically was an event for lupus, but also clinical trials. And it was such an amazing event where one of the exhibits that they had was a poetry slam. And what they did was they linked, I believe it was five different poets. Each poet was linked to a different patient. And the poets reached out to us. We spoke to the poet that we were assigned to, told them our story based off of everything that I, told. My poet's name is Verb. He wrote this amazing, amazing poetry piece. Actually, you guys follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I did post it, so it is on my social media. But when I say that it was amazing, it was amazing. The event itself was amazing. They had like 4 different exhibits. One of the exhibits was a stage play that was phenomenal, that almost made me tear up. I'm not a crier. I only cry when, I'm in a lot of pain or somebody really, really makes me mad. So for me to shed that tear, it was so powerful. The young lady who was portraying someone that has lupus, you would have never known she didn't have lupus. The way she, poured herself into her character, it was phenomenal. And like I said, it was an amazing event. And I was just happy to be a part of it. And get the chance to go to Atlanta, even though it was just a quick overnight trip. And the funny thing is, I did not even know Miss Chandra was at the event. It's so funny because I think you contacted me yesterday and mentioned something about Atlanta or an event. And I said, yeah, I was at an event in Atlanta. And she said, shut up, Janay, I was at that event too. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? It's just so crazy because we didn't even run into each other. But don't worry, next time we'll meet up.
Absolutely.
And do something. But yeah, it was an amazing event. And I recommend if you are interested in any type of clinical trial, reaching out to
call me.
That's our president, Autumn Austin.
Yeah, I will call you, Autumn. I will call you and give you the info. But yeah, View Health is an amazing nonprofit organization. They're doing amazing things. And I'm just so happy and blessed to be partnered with them. Because, and not, to mention they're African American owned. So I'm all about supporting Black and brown businesses and nonprofits. So yeah.
For sure.
That's what I do for a living, Janay.
Yes.
I work in clinical research. So that's what I do for a living. And like you, I preach clinical research because I was in a clinical research program, and that's how I got my job in the first place. So we're not always guinea pigs. Sometimes we need to be in a clinical research program so we can help our disease progress into the next step so we can be treated. It's an optional, another treatment option. So don't be afraid. And if you have any questions, if you have clinical research in your city, give me a call, because I'm all about educating you about clinical research.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We want to thank you guys. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to anybody on the platform. Actually, this is another way that we get to network. It's not just about someone telling their story. It's about people seeing that no matter how long you've had lupus, whether it's 1 year or 5 year or 20 years, you can still be great. We don't use this as a pity party, let you sit at home, oh, woe is me. No, I have lupus, but I'm so much more than that. This young lady was just saying how she's been out twice advocating for the disease. She may feel like crap today and have to sit down for 2 more days, but that's the world we're in, right? But we continue to move on. For those of you who don't know, we are Gamma Pi Rho Lupus Sorority Incorporated. We are a group of like-minded women who all suffer from lupus amongst other illnesses. We come together to be advocates and raise awareness for this terrible disease so that more people can know lupus, to say no lupus. You can find us on our social media platforms or on our homepage at gprsororityinc.org, and find out all the fascinating and wonderful things that we're doing as a sorority. We are out in the community being great and helping others along with raising awareness. If you know anyone with lupus or have a family member or a friend or someone who has lost lupus, who has lost their lives to lupus, get in touch with us for membership or just a friend to talk to help you manage your new way of life. We have an auxiliaries and SEALs and DIMES team. The SEALs will help educate, advocate, and support those for lupus and their families, and if someone who has already gained their wings. And the DIMES is for young ladies 9 to 17 who have been diagnosed. Through mentorship, we will educate them on how to maneuver through it all. At the end of the day, whether you have lupus or any autoimmune disease, or you're just trying to navigate life, we all are here for one common goal, and that is to be great, successful, and be a guiding light to others. So thank you all for being here today. Janay, thank you. Everyone, thank you so much, and we appreciate it, and we hope to see you soon. And we are Gamma Pi Rho Lupus Sorority Incorporated. Have a great—
Thank you guys for having me. I was really, really honored that you even asked me to speak and share my journey. So thank you.
Yes, we are a small lupus community, but we are far and wide. Look at the people we have on here. We have Emmett, we have Tynesha, SOAR Aftermath. We have our wonderful president. We got some people beyond, and Don Carter and Blue Scott. So, we're all family. We are all family one way or another. We're meeting new friends, and, lupus, watch out, because, we coming for you. We're going to get that cure. If not, we're going to still be great, right? Happy Easter to all of you all who celebrate, and rest your mind, body, and spirit, and continue to love on one another. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. Thank you for joining us today.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Hey, sisters. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Bye.
Sis. Bye.